pandemic. Zoom is being utilized for this meeting. In case of technical issues, meetings will be uploaded to the city website as soon as possible after the meeting. We will be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom. Committee members and staff are participating from remote locations, practicing appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting by use of Zoom as noted on the city's website and as noted on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak to the Climate Action Committee may do so during public comment or may comment on agenda items during the discussion of each item and must be logged into Zoom. Anyone using abusive, vulgar, offensive, threatening, or harassing language, personal attacks of any kind, or offensive terms that target specific individuals or groups will be muted and removed from the meeting. Please do not abuse this new way to provide public comment. All right, so I'm going to ask Carrie to do the roll call. And as you answer, I am requesting that today you all provide our inspiration / reflection by saying two words that are not here, present, or indicate your presence in any way. 2 words about who you are, how you're feeling, anything like that.
Excellent. I know I'm not part of the committee, but I'll start off with beautiful day.
Nice.
And a list of, okay, Alex Goodman.
Climate action.
Dina Allen, we know that Dina is excused for today. Joshua Somane.
Toasty warm and fruity.
Kenna Lee.
Fruit tea.
Lisa Pierce.
Beautiful colors.
Debbie Burns.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Sunshine joy.
Sunali Sikand.
Love, 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 love.
Woody Hastings.
Yes.
Argus Brent. I do not see Argus here. Ambrosia Thompson.
Granddaughter.
Everett Fernandez, as noted, he is out of town, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to join us. Sarah Gurley.
Green team.
And Diana Rich.
Appreciative and joyful.
Excellent. And you do have a quorum today.
Wonderful. And it's a group that I feel like I want to be part of after hearing all of your thoughts. So we'll move straight to review of action items from last week. Joshua, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, Carrie was going to send a template for the staff reports, which has happened. Education and outreach was coming back with a list of event ideas, which is also happening. Let's see, Rotary Club looking for project ideas. Kenna handling the tabling, which has happened. There was outstanding business about trying to collate our document templates. I'm not sure where that has landed, so maybe we discuss that today, and I think that's it.
Thank you, Joshua. The document templates are in my inbox waiting for me to send them all to Carrie in one fell swoop. So that's an action item for next time. So do we have any comments from the public today regarding items that are not on our agenda? Dino, Steve, our usual suspects. All right, we will move on to statements of conflict of interest. Does anyone on this committee have any statements of conflict of interest about business before the committee? No. So we'll go to planning department report.
Thank you, Kenna. So let's see, a few things. We had a couple of use permits approved at the Planning Commission last night. Both were actually alcohol use permits. One was adding wine to the cheesemaker existing cheese maker production down there, and the other is an arcade, a retro arcade that will be next to Wood Floor. We have a couple things coming up of interest. We have at the next regular city council meeting, September 6th, the planning commission work plan, which includes some items that may be of interest to this group, but mostly their own. It will be kind of a good example, and I'm happy to send that out. It's already gone to the planning commission if anyone wants to see what that looks like as we work towards the Climate Action Committee's work plan. We'll also be presenting the final Calder Creek naturalization concept. For that, I just had a great meeting with GHD today to review the hydrology for that. And as part of that, we actually are going to be asking council to approve a continued relationship with the Waterway Research Institute's sister organization, California Urban Stream Preservation, to do work for us for free, including submitting a coastal conservancy grant. So, and authorizing us to submit that grant this fall. So that's exciting work. It would actually help get that project in Ives Park, the design documentation, basically what's considered shovel ready for other grants. And also we'll have them review the concepts within downtown and the eastern part along Redwood Forest and the trail. That grant, if we were to get it, would also help us move those further phases further along. So that's exciting. And then engineering will also be asking for council to authorize submitting for the Caltrans Sustainable Community Grant. So I know some folks here are interested in that. And then we'll also be doing a discussion of the Sonoma County Grand Jury response to their reports on affordable housing production and affordable housing monitoring. Whew. So a lot coming up. That's the regular meeting. There is a special meeting the 31st, which is appeal of the Lowell Sheldon alcohol use permit. That is at 9:30. So that is this is special city council meeting next Wednesday. And the report for that will be out tomorrow. I can tell you that because I'm wrapping up gathering the final comments for that right now for the report. In other news, our housing element comment period has closed on our draft housing element. However, we are still accepting comments both till the 31st for integration for our transmittal of the draft to the state for their review. Or through the end of the year, since council won't be adopting it until January. So those are quite a few things. In terms of the Rotary projects, I am actually, and so is Dante and I are meeting with our Ives Park subcommittee and the Rotary at Ives Park next Tuesday to talk to them about potential projects and fundraiser projects that they're interested in, potentially related to that park. And our planning commission, as the Parks Commission, is planning to do a tour of at least one of the parks to do kind of more focused effort that they've been doing on Ives for low-hanging fruit and improvements. That would be at their September 27th meeting, and we don't quite have it organized yet, but that is coming up if you're interested in that, and specifically some of the resilience or environmental components of it. We'd love to have you guys join us for that. I think that's about it, but I'm probably missing something. So as usual, Sarah and Diana usually help me out on this.
I got nothing. I think you've covered it all. Thank you.
Well, if I may, Kenna, I'd like to just mention one thing as a council report. Yes, the city council was one of the sponsors for the Gravenstein Apple Fair, and our city name was associated with the shuttle bus, which was great. So people learned to take transportation rather than their own car from the faraway parking places in. But I want to share my experience at the sorting table, where people were bringing their waste products and sorting them into pig food, recycles, landfill, silverware. So they used all washable silverware and cups for the drinks that were served. But here are the statistics from 2019 to this year. From 6,000 pounds of pig food, we went up to 7,000. So people are really getting that sort, put the organics in, the organics down. From 14 cubic yards of true compostables, we're down to 12, which means people are using fewer of those. From 25 cubic yards of recycling to 20 cubic yards in 2022, from 8 cubic yards of garbage down to 3. Ambrosia was a big success, I have to say. So when we think of that, I'll tell you, people are just learning and they love learning how to do it. The favorite comments that I heard were from, I think, people who don't live in the community. One person said, "We don't recycle anything where I live." And we asked the fellow, "Where do you live?" And they didn't want to say. And then the other comment was, "I've never seen this done before." And everybody just really enjoyed doing the right thing there and having a little bit of help to get it in the right little bin. So I'm very proud that the council supported the Apple Fair. They had close to the expected attendance. It's usually around 15,000 in regular years. I haven't heard the statistics as to the fundraising money, et cetera, but I think the people who were there had a really good time. And I certainly did, being part of the green team. Thanks, Kenna.
Yes, no, thank you. That was a great report to get. And at our table as well, which we had because the city was sponsoring, we got some good traffic and some great conversations too. So moving on to our regular agenda, from events of the Gravenstein Apple Fair to events in the future. Who is Alex? Are you leading this discussion? Thank you guys so much for getting the packet in. So hopefully everyone's had a chance to look over the 2 different proposals from the outreach committee. Or Debbie, are you leading? I see you have unmuted.
Either way, it doesn't matter. There were 3 proposals though.
Oh, did I miss one?
Debbie, go for it.
Are you sure? Okay. I mean, either way.
Go, Debbie.
Okay, so we had 3 proposals. We'll start with, there was the art project, the column in the newspaper, and then the Climate Action Committee submitting an art sculpture for the upcycle art project, or sorry, and then the so-called library, the I can't speak today. The project where we want to start the discussion group. So let's tackle them one by one, and I'll start with the discussion group. So this was an idea that came out of our group. You know, I think you've read through the material of wanting to reach a broader audience, not only engaging people in what we're doing and letting them know we're here and looking for volunteers, but also having them think about, you know, the things in the framework and how they can be involved and how they can utilize some of this, you know, these resources in their life as well. So Sonali had reached out to, you know, Copperfield's libraries, places where we thought they might host this. The Sebastopol Library is, you know, excited about it and would love to host it. We were going to see if they would send it out to their email, as well as if the city would send it out to their email, and try to get the conversation rolling. From that, you know, our concept was that we could ask everybody there to, you know, maybe have a tea with their friends, you know, kind of start the weeds going out so that we're getting more people in different places and areas. 2 of the things I'll say, and then, you know, open for questions on this, and we can move to the other 2, was we would like somebody, Sonali won't be in town when this is happening. We're having an issue of, like, you know, of the date and, you know, when we would do it, and making sure that we had someone from this committee who is willing to facilitate it. So if there's anybody who would love to be there and would love to facilitate it, that would be fantastic. And then just like a bunch of other little details that we have along with it too. But I think before I get too much into the nitty gritty with that broad stroke, maybe we can see if there's an interest, if, if the committee thinks we should move, forward, so yes. Oh, and one last thing, sorry. With that, we are also, the library is open to us having like a once a month group there. So we could continue to do this on a monthly, basis, and they'll have books on climate change out. The librarian will be there, but like it would be our thing. Okay, I'm ready. Questions?
So Debbie, just to orient the group here, Jerry pointed out that in the packet that I sent out, I believe the thing that you're discussing is the thing that I must have missed. So this was not in the packet in the overall concept.
So would you like me to table this?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
We can discuss it. I just want to kind of orient us all to like the fact that we're looking at a document and we're talking about something that's not in the document. So it's a little so this is just like a kind of dissemination of information one-time meeting where people come, or are we talking about an ongoing library affiliated book club?
Yeah, we would like to do it ongoing. We had talked about maybe once a month. We feel like we would get new people coming, get interest. But the idea is for us to spark and engage people. And then from there, they can go out in their communities and have, focus groups. So that was, if it seems too much to do it once a month, we could do it one time. We went back and forth. Sonali, will you remind me, we went back and forth on the date and we decided we should wait until after there was an approval or of something?
We know that the committee, our committee is meeting next meeting to discuss and prioritize the framework. Is that correct? So we thought, sorry, go ahead.
That's what we're doing right now, I think. Oh, you
Oh,
mean?
The whole framework that Phoebe did. Is that right?
That's going to be our work. That's going to be like the process of developing the work plan.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were just wondering if we should wait to have this event after what our priorities are. So if anybody wants to volunteer, we can have things at the ready for them because we'll know what our priorities are.
So the purpose of this was to generate the input and also the power to be able to activate the directive of the framework, because we alone can't do it, and to like drum up that buzz.
Mm-hmm.
And so at our last meeting, one of the things that came up was, is it better that we hold this book club discussion group on the framework after we have our directive prioritized, so that we can begin to have people implement, take on various aspects of this. So that was one consideration.
Go ahead, Diana.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I have to admit that I'm completely lost at this point. As this project was being described, I was frantically looking through the documents because I hadn't really seen anything that seemed to align with what I was hearing. Can someone just give me kind of a summary, a little thumbnail sketch? Thank you.
Yeah. Also, it was, Kenna, do you want to send it out to everybody right now? I mean, just so they have it or put it up or whatever. But basically,
sure.
It was an idea for having a discussion group around the framework to get people both involved and engaged in climate action in our community. And, the idea of people gathering, talking about it, and also finding volunteers who can enable us to really get some of the work done. So I don't know, Diana, does that answer your question?
Yes, my only question would be, I think you confirmed this, that there's been contact with the library and the library is interested in partnering on this.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I needed. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, although the other piece that is important about that is we feel like it would be important to have a facilitator from our group be there leading it and facilitating it.
Sorry to jump in, y'all, but this does look a lot like the first thing that's on the handout about the book club discussion group. This is just one version of that general format of getting the word out.
And just to add on something, this is kind of like I don't know if you all received the first article in the Sebastopol Times that we as a group had published. So that was that was a part of this, right? That was the invitation to the community to begin engaging and get them excited. And this is, so to speak, drum up business, but drum up play around it.
So I think that what I'm able to find here in the documents you sent me, I think the piece that I left out was the upcycled art project. And that actually the first page of the packet is what we're talking about. We're just missing some information about the kind of the sequencing of like this book group at the library that then invites this next step of the tea party. Is that conceptualized as kind of one project?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it would be, starting at the library and continuing at the library. So we're continually getting new people, new faces, letting people know we're here. This is what we're doing, getting volunteers, getting people in the community excited about what we're doing and a buy-in and talking about it and engaging. So yes.
All right. I'm going to try to put that other missing piece in the chat. Debbie, can you take the floor and call on people while I'm working?
Yeah, show.
Yeah, thanks. I like the idea in general. I think it's great to get the word out. The notion of a venue at the library sounds nice. If it were an ongoing thing, I would basically be willing to host a session along the way, though I wouldn't prefer to be the one up front. My concern would be, I guess, about tracking the public input and then sort of tracking the next steps from there. So just to point out that it's not just the job about facilitating the event itself, but having a way to record any public input and filter the public input, the things that we should carry on to the committee as suggestions. And then if there are next steps that people are following up with, how do we provide some continuity for those citizens who may be doing that part of it? So I'm not sure how that part of it would work out. I just think we should have a plan in place for how that's going to happen. Secondly, sort of if it's with respect to the framework, I think getting public input on the framework is good. However, we don't want it to be exactly the same kind of input of like, oh, what part of the framework should the committee be working on? Because we're sort of having our own process for prioritizing the framework. So I'm not sure how to set up a parallel thing where, people who are interested in supporting the framework are either picking things they want to promote in the community or having some follow-up project where they can work parallel in a way. Although I would like to be open for, if somebody comes up with a great idea that isn't necessarily mentioned in the framework, it would be nice to have space in the committee meetings to put those things forth periodically.
Yeah, I think what our thought is we are looking for less input because there's all kinds of great ideas, but we want to take what we have and activate that. So we want to tell them, here's what we need, here's how you can be involved. But we could have a sign-up sheet for if there's something they're interested in that isn't in the framework, and they can sign up and we can look at that if it's something we want to tackle. But we're not looking for input at this point. We're looking to really get all the hard work that Phoebe did with this framework off the ground before we start looking at new ideas and suggestions. Does that make sense?
Well, actually, kind of wanted to chime in. We had redirected to what Debbie just said because we thought from Phoebe that the framework, the first draft was already out, but I support, yeah, anything that's related to climate change that's going to help us succeed with it. That I agree with Joshua that if people come up with ideas and they want to run with it, that's great too.
Yeah.
And thank you, Joshua, for offering to lead one of those. And those are good points. It's like bringing back tracking volunteers, and the items that you mentioned are important pieces to consider in holding discussion groups.
And I saw Zeno, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm still a bit confused because I look at the package that came with today's meeting, and it seemed that the idea of page 1 has evolved already. So when I read it, I was kind of excited because I thought it was an invitation to people to start picking up ideas and start discussing things. And so in that context, I want just to point out that things are already happening in Sebastopol. And so it would be good to kind of become maybe more aware of that and play in with it. So one thing is that Bike Sebastopol is getting ready to give input to the bike plan update, pedestrian and bike master plan, which is starting later in the year or early next year. So that is an activity that fits into the original proposal. I think it's an invitation for groups to engage with the framework. And then Gary and I have for years met discussing climate change, and more recently we have focused on a local action, a set of local action ideas that also fits in the framework. So that could be another like citizen initiative that maybe doesn't fit in the timeline of the committee, but it certainly is something that is happening and that people could participate in or at least be aware of and profit from in some way.
Thank you so much, Zeno. And Diana?
Yes.
Sorry, did anybody have anything they wanted to say to Zeno? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Sorry.
Or if not, Diana. Okay.
Thank you. So it sounds like after listening to what has been said here and taking a quick look at that page 1 in the packet, I just want to make sure I understand. It sounds like your idea here is to invite the rest of us to host meetings of individuals who we think would be interested that would launch discussions about the climate action framework as it's been discussed in this committee. So are these, I would just want to make sure I understand what your ask is here, that each of us go ahead and host a meeting of some kind, whether at the library or elsewhere. To the extent the answer is yes, then my immediate ask back would be that it would be very useful to have talking points or some sort of structure that we could use in leading these discussions, because personally, without some talking points and structure, I'm not going to be very effective at my Rotary Club or in my book club meeting or any other context. So, question and then a request. Thanks.
Yes, I think it's a fantastic request, and definitely we'll flesh it out more, and that would be great. Yes, it would be great if people would either facilitate at the library and or be willing to host a conversation. The more talk, the more volunteers, the more we get out there. So the ask is that we're all involved in some way of communicating with the public to get the framework and to get more volunteers and to get that, to get that done. And talking points are much needed so we're all on the same page and we're all putting the same message out. So yes, absolutely. Thank you.
And I would think that that would come from our next meeting, right? And like how we're promoting the framework. And
If
build.
everybody wants us to move forward, we can. And Alex just said we can do a PowerPoint. That's fantastic, Alex. And we're kind of waiting for the bigger committee to decide, you know, what direction we're going in, so we can mimic you with what our priorities are to make those the priorities at these meetings.
And I think the other ask was also to see if the committee was okay with us going forward, you know, and what like the comments that you've all provided, like what you think we needed to do to make the library event really successful.
Yeah, that was kind of where we left last meeting, was give you guys a little proposal. If the committee was interested in, then we would go flesh out all the details, talking points, whatever it is. You know, if you guys are like, yes, we think this is a good idea, let's go ahead. Kenna, are you back? Do you want to lead it now?
No, I'm happy. I'm always happy with you guys leading your sections. And no, I just wanted to comment and say, I think it's a great idea and definitely worth, you know, moving forward to the next steps and building it out.
Great. Jerry?
Well, as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking of something that I participated in years and years ago, and in one city. And we have the framework, and the framework has a whole bunch of possible actions. And what the city there had done was they had a charrette, so they invited citizens, and we did it bigger than what the library would be. And this is a smaller city, so maybe that's big enough. And there were separate tables, maybe there's 5 or 6 people at each table. And with a list of the actions, you might pose some questions. So as opposed to having something open, having a single person hosting one after another once a month, have a larger event, which is advertised well, where we bring in a number of people, we use the actions as part of the template, and we pose some questions and let each one of the groups, with maybe a member from the committee at each one of the tables, go through that, and they come back with a short work product after an hour or so, saying, hey, we think these are the most important actions for us to take on because, or something like that. Is that part of the idea that you have?
I mean, like Sonali said earlier, she's happy to take on, you know, she feels that anything that someone from the public comes and says, hey, I really want to do this, she's happy if they want to run with it to do it. But at this point, we're not really looking for people to, you know, tell us what they want us to do or what's important to them. We're looking for people to be excited to help us, you know, launch the ideas that are already in the framework. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And quite frankly, when I looked at the ideas that are in the framework, not all of them are great ideas for us to go after. And there's a lot of vetting, and that's part of the reason for making it a framework as opposed to the climate action plan. We didn't do the vetting yet.
Well, I think it was our understanding, and we could be wrong as a committee, that one of the things that we were going to be focusing on is what we want to focus on. So when we know what we want to focus on, that's what we were going to bring forth. And I love your idea of doing a big venue, don't get me wrong. But what I have seen in Sebastopol doing things, you know, kind of over and over again is, you know, we want to keep people's interest. So if we did do it monthly, we'd be getting new people, and there would be kind of more of an intimate focus than a big event where people might come and be excited and then, you know, leave and not do. It's kind of like going to a party where you never really get to talk to anybody, but you have a couple over and you have a really intimate, you know, conversation. So, you know, we're hoping to really be able to engage and to continue to get new people and to get people involved. But, you know, we can either, we're open for anything. We feel like we are also, you know, part of a larger group, and we want to make, you know, we want to move forward with what speaks to the whole group. Alex, because you should be leading this, so you should talk. Did I answer your question, Jerry, or are you good? You okay, thank you. And then Alex, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Kind of.
Yes.
Well, I would just say that I think Jerry's point is well taken in the fact that what the structure of any kind of event that we do, just really focus on engaging the people and getting them excited and wanting to work on the project. I think we can take the framework ideas that are already thought of and structure a way that we can keep people, we can get people more hands-on and talking about the ideas, because that's essentially what we want people to do, is get together, talk about the ideas, and engage with their community members to try to take action. So it's like, well, yeah, these five are okay, but this number 6, that's really what I want to go after. And we can get people engaged in what they want to do and still helping the framework overall. So just an idea. I think there's still maybe some more fleshing out, but I think the point was well taken, that it's if we structure it correctly, where we're just not talking maybe like at a PowerPoint, we're just kind of like presenting to the people, we're making it a more community engaged and focused. I guess that's really the goal, is the book club, but really figuring out a way to structure it, and that we can set up the structure for everybody else to roll out their own, or even having one topic that we focus on every month in that way. And we break down, we break out in groups and go over the ideas. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I just think the idea is that the point was, how do we keep people engaged and wanting to get excited about doing something in the framework?
Thank you, Alex. I also really love Jerry's idea about having like different, I think, back to Diana saying we need talking points. We also talked about, we want a call to action. So, our call to action would be, here's the sign up sheets of what you can do and what we can need help with. So hopefully there'll be something on there that everybody would want to do. Or again, as Sunali said, if there's something that really lives with someone and they want to run with it, go for it. Kenna.
I am just feeling like, we're going back and forth between, like, we need to get public comment, we need to tell them what we're doing. And we do need to remember that we just spent a year, or Phoebe spent a year, pulling public comment together, which is why our appendix includes things that this committee might not have added in there, right? Like, so we have pulled a lot of public comment in, and this feels like a nice next step in a dialogue where we're hearing this, and then here's our response. Like, here's the things that we are identifying as the things that we want to move forward. So it's like just it's like the speak back of, I don't know, it just seems like a nice response of like, yes, you guys gave all this information, here's this document, but then here's how it moves forward in a conversation where we're saying, okay, this is how we're guiding it. And I just want to encourage you, Debbie, I don't think this is something we need to vote on. This is more you guys just asking for guidance and kind of like a thumbs up. So feel free to call for a show of hands or a show of thumbs up or whatever, if you feel like you need more kind of official approval than just the words that we're sharing now.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're good. And I'm kind of from your place where it's like too much info. Like we can't get everybody thinking that they can bring us all their ideas and we're going to do them. We want it to be like, here's the year we spent with these ideas. Now you guys can help us do them, because we just don't need any more ideas. We need to get them done. So maybe if Carrie talks and then we just do a show of hands, if people are interested, that we move forward.
Yeah, thanks, Debbie. I just wanted to, actually, it's a comment on what you just said. And in terms of the work plan and organizing the work plan, I think, yes, I would strongly advise you to stick to the things that are included in the appendix. As you're doing that, certainly things come about, over time as you're implementing your first work plan or whatnot, or, things change, the world changes and things come up, COVID, everything. But you do have a significant amount of input, as Kenna said, from Phoebe into that already. It's going to be enough work kind of prioritizing those things. And it doesn't mean that you can't, if something big comes up in another opportunity, you know, for the planning department, the climate action framework, and the possibility of having the Civic Spark Fellow bump that up as an opportunity where it wasn't at that high level in our work plan. And so we did that. But it is a good way of organizing. So yeah, for the work plan, you know, the outreach for the existing framework versus how you guys do the work plan, I would definitely advise you to do that. And I think the way I talked with Kenna and Joshua about that and Phoebe was looking at it within each of the small task groups within your subject area and starting to help format, and then coming back as the bigger group. And that's still going to take a lot of work to get that sorted.
Thank you so much. So if we just want to do a show of hands right now, and then we'll flush it out and send it back with more details. Sound good, Kenna?
Works for me.
Well, is that so
yeah, let's all raise our hands if we think they should move forward with this idea. Or raise your virtual hand, or yeah. So I think you have a full support here.
Okay. Yay! Then let's try to go through the other ones quickly, because I'm mindful of we're taking time here. So,
it's okay. You're the main part of the agenda today.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So the next one is a column, which Sunali wrote the first one, and it was really lovely. She is a wordsmith. And in the Sebastopol Times, we would like to do that monthly. We can absolutely give you criteria, in order for people to read it. They suggest it's only 500 words. We also would like it to rotate with committees. I know Lisa had offered to also write some articles. We don't care if it's from one of your working groups or if you want to do it personally. I think we just, want to come up with a calendar of who's responsible for what month, and then we can start submitting there. I think it's another way to just get the word out and to get people know we're here, what we're working on, how they can be involved. I think the time now is that we have to really push ourselves out there, and we don't have, we have to utilize the resources we have to really get the public's engagement involved. And the more ways that we can hit them, the more successful we'll be. So it used to be in marketing, and this is dinosaur now, right? Because we have social media, but it used to do, if you were going to do a print ad, a minimum of 10 times you printed that ad in order to get anybody to even look at it. So it was like the first time people look by it. The second time they have some recognition, they spend, it's like the third time it takes before they read it. And then to actually make a decision to engage used to be 10 times. Interestingly enough, with social media, the statistics have stayed very true to print. So going on those just, basic marketing laws, we want to get out there 10 times, 10 ways, 10, we really want to saturate Sebastopol with climate action. So this is another point of reference that we feel would be valuable. So what we need from you guys, our ask is, who would be willing to write a piece, and are you guys on team with this? Do you think that this is a valuable use of our resources? Any questions, anyone?
Joshua has his hand up, Debbie.
Oh, sorry, Joshua.
Hey there. Yeah, given that I meet with Dina offline and that we're next up in the sequestration, I've agreed to write the next column for September, particularly because it's in time with our compost giveaways. So just to say, I'm planning on writing that column this week and getting it to Dina this weekend.
Yay! Thank you so much, Joshua. Anybody else? Okay, don't see any hands.
Alex has his hand up, and Lisa.
Oh, I do see them now. Okay, I'm getting better at this. Alex.
Yeah, just to clarify the ask, it's really just so it's we thought, any other frequency besides once a month, like anything more frequent, that would just be too much. And it's not to say if you feel so compelled you want to do something, we could obviously put it in and we could do more frequent. But the idea is that we just have something consistent for our community to engage in and really keep them in, and it's a kind of a funnel to be able to get more people involved with the potentially the framework or anything like that. So essentially we would just create a list that says Monday, December, January, February, like the energy group's doing one, the sequestration and the transportation, like that's kind of the idea. And just like, oh, it's your month to write a 400 word, thing about your whatever project you're working on, or something that's compelling in the subgroup that you're working in, is essentially the idea. So we don't feel like it's a huge ask, and we're just trying to propel something. We're going to deal with all the kind of the editing and logistics of getting this stuff out. You just basically have to write the draft of like what you're talking about, and maybe a few emails back and forth, I'd imagine, is as much as we are really looking for. Is that right, Debbie?
Yep, that's perfect. Although I don't think we're going to edit it. We want it from them in a complete form, right, Alex? We want them to give us a finished piece. Whoops.
Yeah, maybe just grammatically is more what I mean.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love editors. Editors are great. Okay, Lisa?
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. It's a great opportunity. I'm hoping that a lot more people sign up to get the Sebastopol Times online. Hopefully they will. But I'm fine doing October. I think it would be great if we could kind of set like just not sometime in the month, because some people might get it in the last day of the month. And I'm sort of thinking, let's get going. How about like the first week of the month to sort of kind of set up a rhythm? That'd be my vote. And also the question is who to send it to.
Yeah, so fantastic questions and great input. It does need to be consistent. So we have to have a day that it needs to be in by. I think that it should be in on the 1st of the month, because then you send it to Dina. Dina sends it to Holly and to Carrie, and then we have to go through that. Oh, no. This is for the Carrie. No, we already got approval. We can go directly to the publication on it.
For the newspaper column, it's just me.
Okay, so then
yeah.
you need to get it to Carrie, and then Carrie approves it, and then we can send it over. So, we want it to be there, in the first part of the month, and we want to be consistent, because one thing about building a column is when you start to attract people, they're going to look for your column, and you want it to be there the same time all the time. And yes, it doesn't have a readership right now, but that is something that we hope, will happen. And the other thing you have to remember is you can, use, like I write for everything from Huffington Post to and I'll reuse my same blogs, at many different places. So once we have these, we can collect them, and then we could additionally submit them other places if eventually, if we have enough to go to, a larger venue or whatever it is. So I would say the 1st of the month. And again, the onus is on us now to flush this out a little bit and give you guys a guideline. So I think what we should do now is Dina is off for a minute. So if you want to let us know if you're interested in writing an article, then we'll write a calendar. And Lisa, I think you had mentioned you would do more than one. So we now have September and October taken care of. So if you're willing to do more than one, if you can let us know that as well, so we can just, get the calendar done. And if there's not a lot of people, then we'll just, So should we do a show? Can we do this? Could we just do a show of hands of people who would be interested in writing an article? Okay, so Kenna. Kenna, Lisa, Joshua, Woody, and Alex. Should we be taking these notes, Joshua, or is this something you do on your minutes?
Oh, yeah, I'm not tracking these details.
Okay.
You take your notes.
Okay. Sunali, can you do it since I'm doing the, I can move on. It's Alex, Joshua, Zeno, Lisa, and Kenna, and Woody. Okay.
I would like to do an interview with Gary because he has this wonderful remodel where he did all the right things. So that's another thing you could do, to have an interview with a exemplary citizen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So great. Perfect. Well, then we'll put together a calendar. And that sounds fantastic. Thank you guys so much. So I don't think we need to take a vote if we should move forward, because it seems like we had is that right? Okay, great. So the very last one that we've been working on a lot of things kind of behind the scenes, like, getting family bike nights and all that kind of stuff. But again, we're back to like, how many times can we really push out to the public? We're here, be clear with our mission, get people. And so we need to have a broader audience. So doing things like the Apple Blossom Fair, the tabling, the farmers markets, those are fantastic. However, a lot of times people are really busy and they don't have the time to stop by. They're from out of town, and they're still great. But we need more ways that we can like really put ourselves in front of our community in order to let them know we're here, this is what we're doing, please be part of it. So we came up with this idea to do a submission for our upcycle art project. Since it's something we're doing as the Climate Action Committee, it seemed apropos that we could build a sculpture or something together. So we felt like, what we're trying to do is bond, partake, educate, and reach as a committee. So our objective would be for us to bond as a committee. It's always beneficial to have fun with each other. Bonding does create a cohesive process, and it really makes you see another side to people. And it's just kind of, helpful in any type of group or organization. So we would partake as the Climate Action Committee to do a project for the upcycle art project we're sponsoring. And I had offered we could do it in front of somebody, because if we do it in a public place where people are already walking by, we could also talk. I'm happy to talk to the Barlow to see if we could do it in their green grass there. Any place that's out in the public where people are walking by, and some people could be at a table giving out information, letting people know what we're doing, getting them involved, and getting that. So again, it would be to educate. So, we're striving to get the word out there about what we're doing, and we want to reach the community and, kind of enhance their commitment and participation. So, kind of says it here, with everything from helping them to reduce their carbon footprint to getting more volunteers. We want to reach a broader audience. I'm curious from either Sarah or Diana where we're at with the relaunch Sebastopol, and if we can utilize any social media yet, that would be helpful also. We would like to do a press release for this. We think it's kind of cool that as a committee we would be doing this, and really maybe get spectators out there watching us build it. It does fit in line with the general plan, it would be us. I thought the easiest time to do this would be a time where we have a meeting, and if it was being streamlined, it would also be cool. If we have social media, we could do it live on social media. We could do it live during our meeting. We don't need any funds for this. And at the last meeting, Recology offered to give us the supplies. They said, just let them know. She thought it was a great idea. She'd love to donate them, or we can all bring something that we would otherwise throw away and contribute. We talked about offering the storefront or another place that's a high visibility to attract people, doing it at a regular meeting time, doing a press release to get the spectators, and social outreach table. So there you go.
And Debbie always says that a community that plays together,
Stay
Debbie.
together. And then lastly, we just decided that we could also let all the other stores on Main Street know we're doing this and ask them to email their customer base. Like, you know, I happen to have the largest customer base on Main Street, but like we, you know, when we put it all together, we have a very big local base. So we could, you know, email all of our local people, let them know we're doing it. And then, you know, if that's successful, I think we could do, you know, like a trash to treasure. Like we could have then all the stores on Main Street kind of take over and do a bigger day. So that was it. So in short, we feel like we need to sponsor more events that bond, educate, reach our residents, and that they're excited to partake in. Oh my gosh, that space is going to drive me crazy. And thank you. Put that in there. And this feels like a great way to start. So there you go. Questions? Comments, input? I don't see any hands raised. Oh, Diana.
Do you have a sense of when, you know, what sort of timing, just, you know, detail about what the plan would be? You said during one of our meetings, but we're doing Zoom meetings. So, you know, some more specifics in terms of how you would frame this and how we'd actually get it done would help me out.
Thank you so much. It would be a lot. We would be in person, like in town, in front of, you know, our storefront or, you know, or Barlow or something like that. And we don't have a time frame. We thought we'd put it out there if the group was interested. I felt like it would be kind of like wrangling, you know, cattle, trying to get a time that we can all make it, or even a majority of us could make it if it wasn't in our meeting, but we're happy to do that as well. And, you know, I think that it would be nice. We want the appropriate amount of time to get press and to get emails out. So for example, you know, I would send out, again, 5 or 10 emails on this and do, you know, because so people were listening. So I would say our process for press is we send it to Dina. Dina sends it to Holly, and you know, and you know, that process in itself would probably take us about 15 days to be able to get a press release out. So I would say we should give ourselves 2 months. I would like to see it be successful. So if it's a go, I would like 2 months to be able to really make it happen. Okay. Kenna?
Sorry, multitasking. I'm totally on board for many of the pieces of this, but the thing that would make me feel better is if we have like an artist in charge of you know, like unifying the theme, you know, so that it's not a like I'll show up and try to figure it out on the spot. And I nominate Joshua, having seen his beautiful sculpture, but really just to have a, you know, some kind of artistic vision going into the event so that it's a little bit less, it sounds potentially chaotic. That's my biggest hesitation.
Okay, well, Joshua, do you accept the nomination?
You know, I was going to say I was willing to participate. Leading's a different order of business. I'm willing to be involved, and perhaps I could get together with the outreach committee before the event, and we could kind of clarify what our theme or approach is, and potentially get a look at Ambrosia's store of materials, and yeah, try to formulate an idea of how it's supposed to come together beforehand. In principle, given that it's a couple months away, I yeah, support that. I would be trying not to lead, but to help facilitate, as it were.
We did have some ideas. We like get a frame, and it could be about the framework, you know, and put in like different things about climate. So yeah, I love that you're willing to not lead, and let's get together. Good idea, Kenna. Thank you.
And then Sunali.
Oh, that I was gonna just talk about our ideas that we had for the piece. And my thought was we would see if we were on board with doing it, and then it would just like go on the agenda, right? Like it would be one of our meetings. So that would take care of figuring out the date. And if it could be end of September or early October, that would be ideal for me because I'd love to be a part of it in person.
I'm a little concerned with the press, the way that it works in the city to get enough press. I mean, October, yes, but you know, it usually takes us a good 10. You know, I mean, we would have to whip it out at our next meeting, get it to them, and maybe Carrie, you could kind of fast track it. And then, sorry, I do see you, Joshua, but Diana or Sarah, do we have social media now from relaunch that we could utilize also?
Well,
Sarah, you're
yeah, I'm part of the relaunch committee. And I'm not sure what the question is. If we want relaunch to publicize something, we could certainly ask them through what they have. But Holly is kind of the main outreach person who does all that PR work. But certainly we could let Laura and Colleen know.
Oh yeah, I haven't spoken for a while. I'm happy to talk to her. The last we spoke, we had asked, because again, with this octopus and everybody doing 1,000 things, you know, we had talked to her about she was going to do take care of the social media instead of us having one. But she at first was going to do anyway, we don't need to talk about that today. I'll call her and see if they have access for that.
Yeah, just go direct. We have a meeting next week, but you might as well ask.
Yeah.
Today, tomorrow,
Lisa.
Yeah, I saw Joshua had an immediate reaction of this with figuring out what this art is going to be during our meeting. I do not think this is the place to have a creative process like that. Yeah, it's a separate meeting I would suggest for people who want to do it.
Clarification, I wasn't suggesting we figure out what we do at the agenda, but that since one of the meetings is our proposal would be dedicated to it, right? This would be in lieu of an agenda, this is what we would do during our meeting time. That's what I meant as far as scheduling when this event was going to be.
Yeah, and my comment would be identical to Lisa's, that I don't feel it's compatible. Like these meetings, we're getting stuff done and it's just a very different thing. And we have plenty of stuff to do this fall. So I think if we're going to do this art project, it's a separate time, and it's not everybody has to come. It's like those who want to, and you know, something like a Saturday morning for 2 hours or something like that would be my suggestion.
I agree. I'll second that. I think that to try to get all of us kind of figuring out what it's going to look like together, I think that could be pretty hard, you know, and it less chance that it's going to actually look like not just a pile of trash that's kind of assembled somehow, you know, but actually looks good. If there's too many cooks, I think it can cause people don't feel as comfortable taking that leadership role.
I think what Joshua had offered was that he would meet with us separately at our education group, and then we'd talk about the resources we have and have some kind of, you know, broad outline moving into it of, you know, kind of a basis. So we're not talking about it at the group. It would be at our working group, and we're not just going blind into it the day of. Joshua, did I represent that correctly? Is that what you had offered?
So I think the question for the committee today is like that the outreach education group, like is this a project that enough people support that they should move it forward? Or
Yeah.
are we saying like, we're really not interested in this? I think that's the relevant question for the group.
You, Kenna. Yeah.
I think it would also be good to just see a show of hands of how many people would be interested in actually participating, put the piece together. 'Cause, I mean, frankly, if 12 of us tried to do it, it would be hard. But if there's, half that many or something, then we just have a sense of who's in and we can take it from there.
So should we just have a show of hands are you saying 2 different shows of hands, Joshua?
Yeah.
Should outreach and education continue to move this forward, or we just think it's a horrible idea? Is that kind of the...
Well, one is like, could we move it forward? And one is like, would you be interested in being a part of making the sculpture?
So everyone in favor of moving the project forward in whatever form, go ahead and raise your virtual or physical hand. So it looks like to me that's enough people to move forward, because this is not a vote and this is more than half. So then who is interested in actually participating on the day, assuming that it's scheduled at a time when you can come? Yeah, so that's a smaller, manageable number.
Well, Sunali is if she's in town.
Yeah.
And I am also. Okay, great. Oh, and
so
yeah.
Does that give you guys what you need to kind of go back to your working group?
Yeah, for Sunali, are you at a space where you can write down those names, or Alex, of who's interested? It's Joshua.
I can.
Okay, great. So it was Joshua, Ambrosia. Kenna, you had your hand up, correct?
Yeah.
Kenna. Is that it?
Diana.
Oh, yay. Okay, good. We have one. I think that's good. Perfect. All right. So basically what we're going to do is not discuss this in the main group anymore. We will talk, Joshua, we're going to be reaching out to you and Ambrosia about the supplies. So maybe the next call action could be, since you're you could talk to Ambrosia about some of the things she has, Joshua, and then we'll have you at our working group and we'll just kind of talk about some ideas, and then yeah, we can take it from there. Sunali, did you have something I missed?
Oh no, at the end.
Okay, great. And then we'll pick a date. We'll let you guys all know if you want to spectate. And then is there anybody, before we finish this up, is there anybody who would be interested in tabling at that event? So maybe not making the sculpture itself, but being there, tabling and getting, volunteers for climate action. Ambrosia.
Debbie, I think we need to figure out the date and then see.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Kenna.
Thank you. So I want to just do a quick little round of hands about some different things about scheduling for these meetings. So this group has shifted a little bit in its composition, and our original group had some constraints that some of those people have left. So one of the things that's a little bit hard is for Carrie and the council members to be coming to these meetings when they've been up really, really late the night before at city council meetings. So Carrie had said that it would work well for her to maybe reschedule to a different afternoon. Tuesdays, obviously not so good. I know Woody had a lot of constraints, and I had said I was going to send out a survey, which I still can do, but I thought just getting some basics so that I know where to go with the survey, because I realized it was too broad of a topic. So Carrie, do you want to just talk about what you're briefly kind of what would work from planning department and
Sure. So, I think probably if a Monday at the same time was possible for folks, that would work really well for us. I know I'm not always at my best because I basically every Tuesday have a late night meeting, and by the end of the next day, I'm a little bit, my brain is a little foggy. Now the good news is if we can't change, Phoebe has accepted, and so she's going through the hiring process. That's a part-time job, and I know she's looking for full-time, so I don't know how long that will be for, but hopefully she'll be able to be staffing this committee, starting in September, or starting in late September. She's actually going on a vacation, well-deserved vacation, early September. So that's, but if there is a potential to change it, that's, again, a little bit helpful. I'm fine with keeping it on Wednesdays. I am hoping that Phoebe stays for quite a while, even just if it's, part-time to staff this committee. And I understand other folks have other options. I can also do Thursdays at the same time as well.
all right.
And
So
it looks like Mondays are just bad for folks, so that's fine.
So this is helpful to have this kind of little stuff going on in the chat here. Jerry, did you want to say something?
Yeah, rather than type it in the chat. The Wednesdays have become a problem for me too, because I have the MTC meetings on Wednesdays. So if I want to actually physically go there, I can't get back and forth. And Mondays and Thursdays work fine for me.
So the other question on the table is, we've talked about like a long time ago when we first started meeting, that we would start at a twice a month cadence, with the plan to eventually shift to a once a month meeting, larger meeting. And we haven't gotten to the point yet where it seems like the agenda is, it's like, oh, we don't have anything to discuss. We always have plenty to discuss, but there's also terms that will be ending soon. So I'm very interested to know, is there anyone here who would be more likely to extend their term or reapply if we were meeting once a month instead of twice a month? So is that something that you're like, yes, that's going to make all the difference for me in terms of sticking around, because this is an amazing group and my goal is for everyone to reapply for their seat when their term comes up. So I don't see everyone dancing for joy around this issue. So, okay. Woody, were you going to say something? It looked like you unmuted.
I was just going to say, theoretically, that wouldn't mean that the workload is reduced. It's just the meeting frequency is reduced. It would be mildly easier, but I think you just said, would it be the key or the make or break to be able to stay on? And there, I don't think it rises to that. Every 2 weeks has not been terrible. So I could. That's not the make or break issue for me.
Gotcha. Okay. Just looking over the chat here, it looks like maybe sticking with what we have. Because even though Carrie claims to not be at her best, she seems to work perfectly fine. We may be in the best place that we are, except for Jerry's conflict. So more to come on this. I just wanted to have a little bit of input from the group to see if there was kind of an easy solution. Are there any working group reports at this time? Lisa?
Yeah, so Dina and Steve and I and Jerry too, we've been working on a survey about electrification basically, and finding out what people would find helpful for as far as getting information and assistance in various ways. So we put it together, and we did the equity checklist and the other one as well. So it would be great if we could have that on the agenda. I guess we don't have a meeting again in a couple of weeks, do we? For
There's a 3-week gap because because we have that extra Wednesday in August.
right. So I guess it's the which one is it? The 14th or something?
Yes.
The 14th. Yeah. Could we get that on the agenda for then?
Yes. So can you just tell me the name of the agenda item?
Sure. Electrification survey,
Electrification survey. All right.
I guess. Steve or Jerry is, I don't know if that's quite the right word, but
That's fine.
okay. Did you have anything to add, either of you? No? Okay.
Joshua?
Yeah, just a reminder to everyone that we are doing the compost giveaway, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, September 1st. Or no, I'm sorry, September 3rd, that is. We are going from 9 to noon this time, because when we say 10, people show up at 8:30. So, we've been staffing it since 9 anyhow. Basically, if anyone wants to help out, that would be wonderful. Email me and Dina, please, and we can coordinate. And I think at this point, everybody kind of knows how it works. If anybody has any questions, I can address those, or if it's logistics, let's do that offline.
Thank you. And thank you to the whole sequestration group. Tell you those compost events are our biggest seller. Steve?
I just wanted to report out a little bit for the funding group, and also a question for Carrie. We've done some more research into some various grants that are available, and we really are hoping to get an idea of where the city is in terms of the RFP, the request for proposals for grant writing services, because we need to know, are we going to be on the hook for finding the grants, finding the grant writers, and our workload changes considerably. So hoping to get some feedback from Carrie on that.
Thank you. So I do not have an update on, we've actually been discussing, I think we need to set a meeting with city administration. So the budget for that is in the city manager's department, because it's not just for climate, it is for housing and other things as well. The professional temporary staff position that was approved by council a meeting in the last meeting, I think it was. Yeah, last meeting. Is something that we can use for hiring someone without an RFP, just as a kind of adjunct to staff, kind of like we have our city arborist, or how we're hiring Phoebe. We haven't discussed whether that's a better route versus an RFP. It's probably a little quicker, and it might be less expensive to get someone who's an independent but really good, but may not have the insurance requirements that the city has, and have to go through the whole approval of a consultant and whatnot. So we have not set a meeting for that at this point due to a couple of vacations going on. But I would anticipate, no, you do not need to find the grant writer. However, if you know of people, definitely let me know of them. I do know of a couple of local folks. And if you do have, I don't yet know whether this person is going to be given grants and told, go write this. There are a number of those already that we, that I, for instance, know about. There's a FEMA BRIC grant and a couple of other state grants available that I know of that could be used for things in town. So I don't know how much we're going to need someone to go find grants to begin with. It's probably someone to help assess and write them. But if you do have grant ideas, please do send them to me and I will forward to the city manager as part of our discussions for that.
So did that answer your question, Steve? What I heard kind of was you don't need to find a grant writer, but we should be looking for the grants themselves. Is that the short answer?
Can I jump in for a second? I think I know part of what Steve's talking about too, because there's another place even before we get grants. Carrie, one of the things I think we need in the energy group is a little help from staff, because we have a couple of things that at least Steve and I have talked about. I'm sure Lisa heard from Steve what we talked about, different efforts to move forward on. And for one of them, there's a large number of grants available. For the other one, we're not positive what the structure looks like. And it'd be great to be able to sit down with staff, talk through some of those and see if they sound like ideas, what the structure might be. In one of them, the city's participation is really not central, but it is within our city borders, and getting the right players together. We'll need help finding those players. So even before the grants, we can list out, even today, Steve and I looked at a number of places where we know there is money. And we just try to figure out how to structure it. First, to have the proposals that make some sense, and then identify which of the money would actually apply to each one of those.
Lisa?
I was just gonna mention, just kind of check in about Steve Brown and to see if he's had a chance to look over any of the REACH stuff yet.
I do not know. I do know he is back in the office, so I will check with him. You know, I do know that as we discussed about it, it's and I think it's, I mean, I can put it in there if needed, but I did give, I think I mentioned last time that I gave Steve some guidance on that. The REACH code portion of it is not an issue, the tier 1 that's included in the climate action framework. Well, actually, I don't know. It's included in our draft housing element, which is our general plan and element. And that's very little cost and staff time because he's already going through that cycle. We discussed it and we kind of talked about if it's completely redoing our reorganizing our municipal code, that's probably a $10,000 to $15,000 project to have someone, and it may not be a building department, it may be someone who's more who understands the building and the zoning codes, but understands how to put municipal code stuff together in a way that makes sense. Not a building official, a building inspector, you know, so it's, I think, and I think that's the staff input that we gave verbally, but that's, he and I did some, we sort of had the same sense of what that would cost without going out for an RFP or doing anything like that. But that's probably a $10,000 to $15,000.
Carrie, part of the reason we want to see it written down is this. As I mentioned the last time we had the discussion on this, if it's $10,000 to $15,000, we're also looking at, well, it's the direction that we set. Okay, we can spend the $10,000 to $15,000 over the next 5 years to accomplish the entire thing. But let's set the direction that wouldn't cost us $10,000 to $15,000. So we'd like to see it written down so we can suggest other ways to go after it that will get us where we want to go. By the way, just to throw in, did you notice that the city of San Diego has implemented an all-electric REACH code for all new buildings, and that they said by 2030, I think they wanted to have a code which addressed the built environment as well.
Yeah, we're counting on you to bring a really good detailed report about that to a meeting soon, Jerry. Debbie, I just want everyone to be mindful. We're very close to the end of time. Go ahead, Debbie.
Very fast. Carrie, I'm just wondering, or Kenna, would it be useful to have a fundraising working group on this committee to help bring funds in to support some of these efforts. That was it.
There
We
is.
We have one. We have a funding working group.
Oh, for okay.
So looking at sources of funding. Then that's part of what they're coming to say, like, what do we do about these grants? How are we moving the grant idea forward? That's coming.
Lisa, you're on that, right?
I get that. I was just thinking of anyway.
Yes. Thank you for your update in the chat, Woody. I'm gonna point you guys to the chat for the legislative updates. Quickly moving through chair reports. I don't know if Joshua has anything, wave at me if you do. Generation H, which is Generation Housing, which is a nonprofit housing advocacy group, would like to present to the Climate Action Committee about the linkages between climate and affordable housing. So we'll probably be scheduling that in the next 2-3 months. And that will be a brief presentation, which I'm asking them to really tailor to us in terms of what is their ask from the committee in terms of our work. And then I believe we have a celebration coming up. Sonali, you want to announce our celebration?
Yes. Celebrate good times. Come on. So we want to celebrate Phoebe and the completion of the framework and the next phases. So Ives Park on the 31st by the barbecue pit, zero waste event. So bring your own cup, party hat, plate, straw, saucer, whatever it is that you need. Maybe a Frisbee, maybe an instrument, a poem, a song, a dance, whatever it is that you want to celebrate and make romance with. I don't know the time.
It's time. Oh,
no, I don't.
4 p.m. 4 p.m. on the 31st.
Okay.
See you all there.
Come one, come all.
Bring plates. For our next agenda, I believe we have the electrification survey. If anybody else has something to add right now, raise your hand. Otherwise, you can email Joshua and I, and we will put you on that agenda. And quickly review of action items, Joshua.
Yes, so Kenna, still in your court to get those our process document templates posted up somewhere so that we can start to access them. For everybody, just to note that the next meeting of the City Council on September 6th has a couple of items potentially relevant to our considerations. And anybody who is interested in pitching in with the proposed outreach projects or the compost workday should be in touch with those groups offline or online, but not right now. And yeah, next week's party.
Thank you all so much for your time, and maybe I'll see some of you at Peacetown.
Thank you.